What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and we have talked so much about the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, about the failures of CD Projekt Red every step of the way that they lied, deceived, and manipulated not only the consumer and the customer, but also their investors, specifically about the state of this game on console. But one thing we haven't talked about too much are the sales numbers and how this bad press, bad publicity has truly affected the sales. We saw that it broke records in terms of pre-orders, but what has happened since then? The results are pretty stunning, to be honest with you. I didn't in my wildest dreams expect this to happen, expect this game to beat out Cyberpunk in only its second week of release. Take a look at the headline. Assassin's Creed Valhalla takes Christmas #1 as Cyberpunk 2077 falls to third. This is the UK box charts. Now, so what does this mean? These are numbers from the UK, and these are specifically physical sales numbers. That needs to be noted. Now, I would be talking about American sales or something like that, or worldwide, but those simply aren't numbers that we have easy access to be quite honest with you. Sales in America are actually very delayed and sometimes very non-specific about how they are released. So this is one of the best things we have to go off at this time. But the fact that Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was released about 6 weeks ago, beat Cyberpunk in its second week is honestly astounding. It's not something that I saw coming or thought would happen, but it has. Take a look at this. It was a close race for Christmas #1 this year, with Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Valhalla emerging as the #1 physical game of the period. It's the first time an Assassin's Creed has claimed the Christmas #1 position, and indeed the first time for Ubisoft, and only the third time a non-FIFA or Call of Duty game has topped the box charts in 15 years. The game shot up in sales 66 due to some price discounting. I did see Assassin's Creed Valhalla was about $10 lower than it would normally be. To be fair, I saw Cyberpunk at Best Buy for $10 less than it would normally be as well. Yet that seemingly didn't help the sales of Cyberpunk this second weekend. The big #1 of last week was Cyberpunk 2077, and you can see that right here. This was last week. Cyberpunk 2077, top of the chart. Then Call of Duty, Animal Crossing, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, FIFA, and then it kind of goes down from there. But now, it's a different story, only 1 week after the release. The RPG dropped 80% in sales this week and falls to #3. And they do say, it's worth noting that an 80% drop in sales is not hugely unusual for a game such as this with a big release. That is true. We often do see these like 70% sales decreases like we saw for The Last of Us Part 2 in some cases. However, these cases aren't when Christmas is the next fucking week. That is what we're talking about here. We are talking about a time where people are buying a lot of games as presents, as gifts for themselves, as things like that. This is a huge week. But Cyberpunk 2077 still had an 80% drop-off. That has to be, at least in part, due to this bad publicity and bad press of the launch, specifically on consoles. It's likely the negative press has had some impact, but the majority of the decline is to be expected. And CD Projekt Red's new game does hold off FIFA 21, and you can see the entire list right here. AC Valhalla, shocking, honestly. Now, AC Valhalla, when you look at this, it did get decent scores from both the critics and the audience across essentially all platforms. PlayStation is its lowest one at a 7.3, but as you look across to Xbox One, Xbox Series X, right there, PC, pretty, good, especially for an Assassin's Creed game. Pretty well received by the critics, pretty well received by the fans. I have it myself. I think it's fine. I don't think there's necessarily anything special about it, but I think that, especially on a next-gen console, for me playing on PlayStation 5, I've really had none of the bugs and issues that it had at launch. So that's a good thing that it did get fixed for a lot of people. The fact that it took over Cyberpunk for the highest selling game in the UK is fucking astonishing to me, to be quite honest with you. And we talked about the sales, the sales that dropped for Cyberpunk 2077 right here. Shares fall again after disappointing Cyberpunk 2077 sales. They reported 13 million copies. Now that is a lot. You can't deny that that is a lot of copies sold, including most of the refund requests that weren't specifically given to CD Projekt Red themselves. But when you're expecting 17 million and you fall that short, that is a big deal, and that is why the shares fell after that. That combined with the fact, I don't don't know why this article decided to go crazy on me. Class action lawsuit filed against Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red. We've talked about this. Now we actually have lawsuits being filed. Again, I don't know why it's doing that. It just doesn't want to do dark mode or something right now. That's very strange. But the bottom line is, these lawsuits are being filed against CD Projekt Red. They have vowed to fight them and defend themselves in every way that they can. I think that it's going to be tough for these class action lawsuits, although it helps when you have evidence straight from the CEO's mouth that they lied to people about this shit, that they misled people about this stuff, including the internal information to their investors, in order to make sure that the investors continue to give them money, in order to make sure that the stability of the stock price was there, in order to make sure that they got your money for a dog shit unfinished product, at least on console dog shit, unfinished everywhere to be sure. And that, it's going to be interesting when these eventually do, they've been filed, but when they actually get, if they advance past that point, we start hearing actual things happen in court. It's going to be very, very interesting. And it wasn't just in the UK. Take a look at the other Christmas number ones from other markets. Australia, Cyberpunk. That's the only other major one. France, Italy, Spain, Denmark, Belgium, Austria, Netherlands, Switzerland, FIFA, Germany, Mario Kart. I guess the Germans really love Mario Kart. New Zealand was also AC Valhalla. Finland was NHL 21. So when you look across the board, only one other major country had Cyberpunk as its number one during Christmas week. Now, in a couple days, we will get another report to see how it did. If it changed, maybe it spiked back up, maybe right the day before Christmas, the day after Christmas, who knows? But as of right now, it's honestly, I think it's a little embarrassing for them to fall behind AC Valhalla. If you're going to come second to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, that is a monster game available on all platforms. Like, I can see that. AC Valhalla, a single-player game that is now 6 weeks into its release, that came back and beat you in your second week, that really tells me that this has had a big impact, especially on console sales for Cyberpunk 2077. But I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts on it. I was surprised. I was definitely surprised by something like that happening. But did you think AC Valhalla would topple Cyberpunk in only Cyberpunk's second week? Let me know. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.